Hello friends, it's Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this Valentine's teddy bear. Isn't he just like so adorable holding his little stuffed heart? We are going to use our 46 and 22 needle Addi for this project. However, if you have a 48 needle Sentro and a 22 needle Sentro, those machines are perfect for this project as well. So go ahead and use them. I will put the yarn particulars down in the description box below, so please have a look there for that. A special shout out goes to a member of my community. Her name is Deb. I'll put her full name below as well. She took a couple of the patterns that I had already had on my channel and combined them and made herself a bear and shared it with me. And so I am now doing the same. So then she can post it in my Facebook group and there'll be a pattern for you to be able to refer to. So this bear is inspiration from a member, and I thank you for that. So once you have your machine and your yarn ready, we're going to begin this project, and I hope you enjoy your time, and I can't wait to see your projects. Please don't forget to post in my Facebook group. The link for that will also be down below. Always look down below. There's lots there for you to see. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again for joining me. It's always a pleasure spending time with you, and I hope you have fun with this project. I can't wait to see. Okay, we're gonna start. I have my yarn of choice in hand, Caron Simply Soft in pink, and I'm gonna bring my last white, my first black needle in line with my yarn guide. Now, I take a black permanent marker and mark that divider between the two, so I always see when the end of my row is coming around. You might wanna do that if you haven't done it yet. And for this particular project, because I'm just doing a solid color for the body and the head, I've hooked up my zest wrench. I only use this zest wrench when I know I have yarn that works well in my machine. If I have a yarn that I know sometimes will give me some difficulty, I will not use my zest wrench. Okay, I take very good care of my machines, and I love this zest wrench, but I don't use it for every project, and I am very careful with it. So just a word for you. I do have a video showing you just specifically on this too. I've talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to use it for this project, just for this main body part. I've hooked it up already, and I'm going to cast on with a drawstring cast on, taking my yarn going in front of that first black. Then turning that big handle on the zest wrench, I'm going to go behind and in front, all the way around. Now it's a little bit more cumbersome than your Addi handle, but you're only doing a drawstring cast on, and I'll do the first row as well. Not a big deal. Make sure you're casting on loosely, because for the next row, there's no weight to pull this yarn down over the needle and onto the little red teeth, so you need to make sure that it's loose. Okay, before I get to the end, I'm going to set my row counter to 0, and we're going to continue on, and it should be behind that last white. Into the yarn feeder it goes. All right, so we're going to do our first row just by turning our handle here. I'm going to use my zest wrench again. You can, if you don't have one, or I'm just using the manual way, you just turn it as you normally do. And I'm putting just a little bit of tension on. Some people ask me if I use the tensioner, and I don't very often, if I'm honest. The tensioner that comes with the machine, because I always love the control that I get by holding it in my hand. I have no problem with the tensioner, but when I use the tensioner, I always still hold it in my hand, so I figure, what's the point? But maybe I should start using it a little bit more. But I've done one row. I'm going to just get past my black needles here. Not that you have to, but I find it better. I'm going to make sure that the speed on my adapter is set to low, and I'm going to go. Now I can crank, oh, I got tightness coming out of my ball. I can crank my handle faster than this. So this is not too fast, and it's not going to wreck your machine. I'm keeping my eye right here. Just in case I do tuck a stitch, then I can stop it and fix it on the next row. But I'm just going to keep going like this until my project starts to touch the table. Once it starts to touch the table, I will stop and show you what I do with it and give you the reasons why if you are fairly new, okay? Otherwise, you're going to keep going until you have 70 rows, 70. My project is starting to touch the table, so we want to make sure that our tension around the inside of our barrel here, around the needles, is nice and snug and even, because that's what helps to get the yarn to fall down over the needle and onto these red teeth. And if this keeps getting loose, you know, if you let this drag on the table, it puckers up like this and it wrecks your tension here. But you could also drop a stitch off the red teeth, and you don't want that. So you're going to pick it up, even though I only have 10 more rows left, and you're going to just roll it onto itself into a donut. If you were doing a much longer project, every 15 to 20 minutes or so, minutes, oh my goodness, you can tell my head's stuffed. Every 15 or 20 rows or so, you would keep rolling it. Okay, so I am on row 60. I'm going to continue just by clicking on this little button here. And I'm going to do 10 more rows. I'm going to click on 70, and I'm going to just keep it going until I'm watching for that black divider that I told you that I colored. When it's close, about like that, then I can stop. And I'll just hand crank it to the end. There we go. We did 70 rows. How easy was that? We're going to do the drawstring cast off now. So I want you to take a piece of yarn that goes around your barrel in length 1.5 times at least. And we're going to cut that off. And you don't have to measure if you've done this a zillion times like I have. You just get it. We're going to pop this yarn tail onto our needle. Now I'm not going to use the zest wrench for the rest of this project. I'm not actually going to use this size of machine for the rest of this project either. So I could take this off, attach my other handle to do my cast off, but and you can if you find it a little bit too cumbersome for you. But I'm going to just leave it on. Crank it here. Now, it seems like lately, seriously, there's been more than one person on my YouTube or my Facebook group who has said that they used waste yarn because their loops drop off their needles as they're doing it. And with this yarn, that is a risk because it's very slippery. So if you're new and you can't get the tension feel, here's what I want you to do. Drop down that needle, leave this one up, because then it's protecting that needle from falling off and it's not going to come off. Okay, move it one more time. This needle is holding that still in place. It's not till they drop down that they're free. Now, if I was to take several off, now these are all easily to come off. I'm going to put my needle in here. Here's another way. Pull to the side. Don't pull up. If you pull up, you're going to pull that loop off that next stitch. So pull out to the side, and then it's not going to hurt it at all. It's not going. You're not going to risk it because there's no tension that's pulling it off. Once you get a little bit of tension on the back here, then you can take a couple at a time like that. Hold them on the needle with your thumb and pull through. Let's do that again. So I just give you a few tips. Hopefully those of you who struggle caught that. Pick one of those ways. And here's another way. Put your finger over the next one. Finger over the next one. Finger over the next one. It holds it in place and you're not going to risk dropping it off. So rotate. Get some of those loose. Hold your finger. Hold your finger. Hold your finger. And you're not going to have to take the extra time for waste yarn to do a drawstring cast off if you use one of these tips. Okay, so if you were one of those people in my Facebook who was having a hard time, comment below so I know that you saw this. And yeah, I'm just curious. And then give it a try and see how it works for you. Of course, I don't have to do this. I'm doing it for your sake. But it's not to say I haven't dropped a stitch, because I have. But I'm not pulling up. See, I'm taking very short lifts because I'm familiar with the tension that's needed. And then I'm not dropping it. Go ahead, remove all your stitches. Coming to the end, sometimes this one will not let go and it'll fall down into the red divider. All you have to do is back it up and then come forward again, and it will release it for you. There we go. Done. All right, so our piece is off the machine. We're gonna unroll it and we're going to give it a gentle stretch widthwise and lengthwise. Don't miss this step, you guys. It just lines up your rows and makes everything beautiful. And there we go. We have a beautiful bear. Well, we will in no time. So let's take one of the ends and we're gonna pull on that yarn tail. Make sure you smooth it out as you go. Don't just yank it closed and then tie it off, because you won't have a nice end. You have to be gentle and you have to take the extra time and pay attention to detail, and you'll have a beautiful project. I'm going to just make this a little bit shorter, and I'm going to take that end and we're going to reinforce it. So I'm gonna just pick up the top row of stitches all the way around. This yarn is so soft and beautiful. And here we go. Almost there. Pull it through, pull it tight, and now we're going to just pick up a couple strands and we're going to make a knot. One, pull that down with your thumb, and two, put your hand inside your tube, take your needle and put it in the center, grab it with your hand so it doesn't snag the inside of your work. You're going to pinch the top and you're going to put this in half. When you pull this through the other side, now give it a yank and your knot will come to the inside and you won't see it. We're going to now do the exact same thing to the other side. Where, oh, where are you? There you are. Making sure this tail stays out because we're going to tie them together. All right, so I'm going to smooth this out. I'm going to do exactly the same thing to this end that I did to the other end, reinforcing along the top row of stitches. Go ahead and do that and I'll see you back. There we go. I have reinforced around. I haven't tied a knot to this one because I'm going to pull this inside one right up to the top as much as I can. Then I'm going to take these two and I'm going to tie a firm knot, and one more time. Now we can take these two, pop them back on our needle. Easier to do when they're the same length. And we're going to hide it in between the two layers. And cut it off. I'm going to just smooth this out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the head from the body, but I want this to be the head because I'm going to put safety eyes in there. I've got my hot glue gun ready to go, and we'll secure them, making sure that they're not going to come loose, and I'll show you that when we get to that point. But I'm going to make this the top of the head, and what I need to do is I need to take a piece of yarn that goes around 1.5 times or so, and we're going to make sure again that this is all smooth. You want it exactly in half. And we're going to take the top edge and we're going to just pick up a row. Two bars, go over 2 bars, under 2 bars, over 2 bars, and we're going to just put a drawstring in here. Smoothing it out every 10 stitches or so. I didn't do 10 stitches, but every 10 stitches or so you're going to smooth it out. Make sure you're on the straight and narrow. I'm going to just cut this a little bit shorter. And there we go. We have our main piece done. Now we're going to just put a draw line in there as well. So take another piece about the same length. 1.5 to 2 times around. We have to figure out where we want our division to be. Easiest way to do that is to take your tape measure and to measure this length. It's 8 inches, 8.5 almost. Well, exactly 8. So I'm visualizing 4 is right there. That's where I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right at 4. So I'm going to pick up. So here's my a stitch that I'm going to grab, the wide part of the V's at the top there. Just for visual. I'm going to pick up half of that first, I'm going to pick up that bar, just half of the stitch, then I'm going to go over the second half of that stitch, under the first bar of the next stitch, over the second bar of that stitch, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, all the way around, trying to stay on the same row. Leave a tail. Spread this around just like that. And there we go. It's fairly easy to stay on the same row when you're grabbing half of the stitch. When you grab the full stitch, it actually visually you can go up or down without realizing it. So I'm now grabbing. In some of my older videos, I grabbed the whole stitch, but I have since graduated to in my abilities, and I only grab half. But again, you know that we knit in the circular, and when you knit in the circular, it's like a spiral. So when we get to the other end, we will be on top of where we started. We're going to just bring them together on the same row. And I'm almost all the way around. And you see, I'm one row higher, like that. See, I'm going to just go down. Take it down so I can match it. And I have successfully made it around. I'm going to just cut these tails so they're a little bit shorter, easier to deal with. Grab your fiber fill and your eyes. If you're using plastic eyes, I'm using 16mm eyes for this project. I think I might go down a size, we'll see. I get these off of Amazon, and again, I will link them. They have little inserts, so you can keep them clear and you'll see the pink through, or you can add the color insert that it comes with. This particular size comes with the silver, so I'm going to use those, and we're going to place those. I think that I want big eyes on this teddy bear. I think it'll be cute. But before we do that, we have to stuff. But go ahead and turn your glue gun on so it can get hot. If you're going to give this to a child, then you need to put hot glue on the back of your piece before you clip it onto your back of your eye. And then that glue will not only adhere to the actual eye here, but it'll stick to the inside of your yarn, and so it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, many people are very concerned about that, but if you're still concerned, then go ahead and use the sew-on button eyes. I also use those at times, or just use your yarn and make your eyes. You do whatever you're most comfortable with. I'm going to really secure these good, so I'm comfortable with that. Grab your fiber fill and I'll see you right back. All right, so I'm going to take that fiber fill, I'm going to spread it apart. It comes so compacted and squished in that box that I always do that. I always just spread it apart, and I think it goes further. And I mention that in pretty much every video too. And if I'm leaving you astray, well, it doesn't take any extra time to do, but maybe it makes a difference. And we're going to pop that into there. And we're going to continue. You don't want to feel so full that your rows are going to start going like that. If you see your rows spreading out like that, take some fiber fill out, because that takes away from the look of your project. Often you can't tell until you have this cinched, and so we're going to cinch as we go, but we're not going to tie off because we need to add our eyes. There's not enough in there. That's going to be too much. I can tell that already. Let's see what we got here. See, my rows are in line beautifully. I can see it's starting a little bit there, so I'm going to just pull out just a smidgen. Not that that's going to make a whole big difference, but maybe. And I'm going to try again. I think that's going to be the perfect amount, okay? Don't overfill, don't underfill. Now what we can do is we can take our body yarn there. I'm going to just shove that up and make it a little bit more even. I take my time when I do this. I make sure it's right. And we're going to take this and we're going to give it a tie. Now once, and then do it one more time. It's a surgical knot, apparently, I've been told. And then when you tie it and you release it, it doesn't, well, this is very silky, soft yarn, so it's still going to undo a little bit, but it still gives me the chance to I'm going to just give it a twist and then tie it. But I struggle sometimes with making sure it stays tight, and it undoes before I have a chance to knot it off again. But that a way of knotting it does make a big difference on most yarns. And then I'm going to tie this in a knot. I'm not going to cut this off yet, because once I have this piece done, I might decide that I need to tighten it a little bit more, and then I have these yarn tails that I can go around and tighten it more. But for now, we're going to flip this guy over so that we can see. I want my knots to be in the back, so turn it around, and we're going to see where we're going to place our eyes. So I'm going to just do this, and I'm going to tie a very simple knot in a bow so that I can untie it after. But it helps me to judge where I want my eyes to be. I already can feel that I need to put more stuffing in the head. Oops. I have 7 rows in between the eyes. Let me just double check that for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows in between the eyes, and I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches down from the top, and here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches down from the top. That is where I am going to place my eyes. Nope, I'm going to go down lower. It's a guessing game. So 6 and 6 stitches down. That's much better. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put some hot glue on the back of this. I have to do it away from the camera because it's not in this area. I'm going to put quite a bit of hot glue in there, and I'm going to push them onto the back of my eyes and secure them. I'll see you in a bit. All right, so I have those on, and they're very tightly glued. Like they're not coming off. I don't care how hard somebody tries, they're not going to be able to get these off. And because I put a lot of glue. But the thing is, there's only 7 rows in here, not 6. Or not 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I said 8, I think, before, but I wanted to clarify that. I'm going to take these 2 yarn tails. I added just a, oops, what happened there? Oh, I didn't undo the knot. Shelley. There we go. We're going to tie that. Get in there. I'm gonna make a knot. Then I'm gonna pop one of these yarn tails onto my needle, and we're gonna reinforce it around the top just by picking up the top row of stitches. Just like that. And around. And all the way around. Tie a firm knot with this one, and when you get to that point, I'll see you back. I went around once, I'm not able to get it tight enough, so I'm gonna go around a second time, and that often helps. And pull. And pull. And pull. Just don't snap your yarn, because that is very possible. And you just keep going around and pulling until it's closed. Until you have a nice closure. I think that should do it. Okay, then you're going to take these 2, tie a firm knot, and again, and one more for good measure. Pop these back onto your needle, into the head, under the stuffing, out the back. Give that a pull. See how it just took that knot right to the inside. Cut it off. And there we go. Let's go ahead and make the arms and the legs. I think I can actually hide this because I like how it's separating. So if you like how your neck is tied between your body and your head, go ahead and hide your end. If not, then go ahead and tighten it a little bit more or loosen it if you have to. Grab your 22 needle machine. I have my 22 needle set up, and we are going to now do the arms. So for our arms, we do not need waste yarn. We're going to just take whatever color you want to use. For me, I'm going to stick with the pink. We're going to cast on, and our zest wrench does not fit this machine. You can screw it on and then push it against the side to make it work. And I heard people saying that they're doing that. Don't do that. Like, I'm not recommending that because it's not meant for this machine. It's only meant for the bigger one. So don't risk wrecking your machine because you want to make it work on here. It's only for the bigger machine. We're going to take our pink yarn. We're going to cast on going in front and behind, in front and behind, all the way around, making sure I set my row counter before I get to the end. I like to know what row I'm working on, not what row I'm done. And here we go. It's behind that last white into the yarn feeder. I'm going to go slow on this first round, giving that loop time to drop down over the red teeth. And sometimes this yarn, and it happens on the 22, not usually the bigger one, likes to split. So this yarn split between this red teeth, and because I went slow, I could see that it happened. I'm going to take my loom pick. I'm just going to pick up that strand that went between the two teeth, and I'm going to put it over the two teeth. Did it here again. And again, this often happens. Doesn't matter what yarn you're using. Don't know why. It's the strangest thing, but it's such an easy fix. When I first started, I would plow through it and it would snap that piece. I know it's terrible, but I know we all do it. And then I realized, what are you doing? Like, that's when I was, you might see it on some of my newer videos or my older videos when I was still like a bit of a rookie. But here we go. And now that we've got that first row completed, then we can easily sail through the next. Many of you who are watching this will say that you struggle with your Addi 22 with your cast on row. It's mentioned all the time in the groups. And what I just did is how you're going to avoid that. It's a simple fix. If you don't have a loom pick from Looming, this is what you need to get. I'll link one of those in the description box below too for those of you who don't loom and don't have it on hand. I'm going to knit 35 rows. Just clicked on row 35, watching for that black divider to come around, stopping in front of my yarn guide, and there we go. Now we're going to do the drawstring cast off, just like we did with our bigger piece. Let me steal my needle back. Cut off a yarn tail that goes around 1.5 to 2 times. Open your latch, pop that in between. Make sure it goes between the last white and the first black because you still have to finish knitting those 2 stitches. We're going to remove our project. Friends, make 2. Now that we have our 2 arms, we're going to move on and do the legs before we start assembling this part. So we're going to need waste yarn for our legs. So grab a color that's contrasting to this. I'm going to just grab my red, and we'll go ahead. We'll start our legs next. Taking our waste yarn. Now, some people often ask too, why do you use waste yarn? It's so that we can have an edge that isn't cinched. We can, using a contrasting color waste yarn, we can then take our project and find those little loops that we need to catch and make a straight edge, or make an open edge, which we're going to do for our legs here, and then we're going to close it after that. But waste yarn helps you to see the stitches so you can work it in a different way other than cinching. So stick with us or with me, and you will see at the end if you're one of those people who are questioning why waste yarn. Okay, we're going to cast on just like we've been doing. Waste yarn never counts in your row counts, of course, because it's coming out. We're going to go slow. Let's just get rid of that. I'm going to go slow here. So far, none of them are splitting. Yay. There we go. I always do 7 rows. There's no magic number. You can do as many as you're comfortable with doing, but I always find 7 is about the right length that I like in order to see my work good and and be able to work it well. Now I didn't set my row counter, and I think this is 6. I'll do one more. There we go. Now I'm going to set my row counter before I get to the end, because from this point on, we are counting. You're going to just cut that yarn tail, open your latch, pop it between the last white and the first black. Oops. Then you're going to take your yarn color of choice. Again, I'm going to stick with the pink. Pop it into our yarn guide, just like that, in between the last white, the first black. I'm going to knit about 4 or 5 needles. Then I'm going to help it down under the divider and then tug this. It just gives me a nice even tension at the beginning of my row, as well as all the way around, okay? That's only when you're changing colors, and we are essentially changing colors, that you need to do that. You don't need to do it for your drawstring cast on, of course. We're going to knit 35 rows. Finishing my 35 rows, I'm going to cut my tail, open my latch, and I'm going to pop this into the center, making sure it goes between the last white and the first black. And we're going to grab our waste yarn again, pop that in. You don't need to fix the tension on waste yarn on the first few needles. And we're going to knit. Now for this, because I always do 7 rows, but because this yarn is slippery, it can unravel a lot easier before you get your work done. So I'm going to do 10 or 12 rows. Another thing you can do is you can just knit 5 or 6, 7 rows like this, and then you can cut off a long tail and do a drawstring cast off, like what we've done already in the video. And what that drawstring cast off will do, it will hold all these loops so it doesn't unravel. So if you're fairly new, it might be an idea. Knit 7 rows of this and then do a drawstring cast off, and you'll remove it later. And I'll show you how to do that if you've chosen to do it with a drawstring cast off. But again, if you do a drawstring cast off, it will hold your stitches and it won't start to unravel. The way we're going to do it here, the way I'm doing it, is I'm going to knit several rows. That's good. And then I'm going to cut my yarn tail, pop it into the center between the last white and the first black. And I'm going to rotate my barrel twice. On the second time it comes off. Just like that. Sometimes it hooks on those last 2 and you have to give it a little helping hand. You know, there's always somebody in the playground who wants to misbehave. And see, now this will drop really, really easily. So I'm not going to fiddle with it. I'm just going to set it aside and make your second one. I've already done it. We have our pieces off the machine, and we can only assemble them so far, and then we need to make the little balls that go into the ends. But we're going to take our arms and we're going to cinch the end. Popping that little guy back on the needle. I always go around once, even on these little pieces. Little hands are going to be playing with these. You want to make sure you have them good and reinforced. And a tiny bit more, I think. There we go. Pull, grab a couple strands, tie a knot, pop that knot down with your thumb, go inside, pop the needle through the center, grabbing it from the inside and pinching the top. You're going to put this in half. Pull that knot out. Go ahead and do the same thing to this side, reinforcing it once, tying it off in a knot, just like what we did on that other piece. You have an opening like this, okay? So I'm going to reinforce once, tie a knot, and then hide my end. I'm going to do that for both of my arms. And then I will see you back. All right, having completed these 2 tiny pieces, give them a stretch. Set them aside. Let's grab one of our legs. Okay, I'm going to use a 4.5 millimeter hook for this. Doesn't really matter what you use. And we're going to go to the inside, grab it, and put this in half. So the wrong sides are together. Just like so. Get your tails outside. You can follow suit with me and use your crochet hook for this, or if you really hate to do that, you can use a needle and a thread, and you can pick these up in the same way and just sew them together. I'm going to help you find the first and the last stitches. Let me just grab some stitch markers here. And then we're going to just add to the first and the last stitches so that you don't get confused. So this is the end that is unraveling. This is the end of your work. We determined that. We're going to find where our pink yarn tail is coming out of. Now I snagged it up there, so don't let that confuse you. But where your yarn tail is coming out of, this last loop here that is attached to it, when you pull on it, that's the loop. That's where you're going to put your stitch marker. Right in there. Make sure those are staying out. You're going to go to the right of it, and you're going to find where your waste yarn is coming out of. So that stitch where your waste yarn is coming out of, this one here, you're going to put a stitch marker. Careful you don't jostle this too much, because with this really soft yarn, this comes undone really easily. We're going to turn it around. We're going to find the first and the last stitches on this side too. Where our waste yarn is coming out of this loop, if you pull on it, it's coming out of that loop. Stick a stitch marker in there. And then let me pick up this one. Where your working yarn is coming, the one that stitch that's right beside it there, put a stitch marker in there. It is imperative when you close this up that you count 22 stitches on this one and 22 on this one. Otherwise, if you miss a stitch, your row's going to drop once you take your waste yarn off. So let's get those tails out of our way. This looks a little confusing, but that's only because I'm being so gentle so that this doesn't unravel. I'm going to line up my stitch markers. So those two will go with those. We'll go together, and here's where I'm going to start on these two here. So you're going to pop your hook underneath this one where the stitch marker is, then you can take this out. Just wanted you to have a visual. Count that as one, then go up to this stitch marker, pick that up and bring it through your loop, and I say that's one as well. So 1 and 1. Then I'm going to go down to this bottom row, pick up that very next pink loop, and see why we need waste yarn that's a different color. So that's 2, work it through the loop, go up to this next one. That's 2 on this panel. Down to this one, 3, up to this one, 3, down to this one, pick it up, 4, up to this one, come back and forth, and 4, 5, and 5, and you're going to do this till you get to 22. 6, and 6, 7, and 7, 8, I feel like I'm doing this upside down, and 8, no I'm not, 9, all the way around to 22. I'll see you when I get there, and 9, I've counted 21 and 21, and my very next ones are the stitch markers, which is 22, and if it's not, then you've done something wrong. You want to make sure that that one, the very next one, was 22, and the very last one here, I have none in between that are missing. And stitch markers help because they get lost down in there, so you want to make sure you use them. And 22. I'm going to work that. Then I'm going to take one of my yarn tails, my pink yarn tails, and I'm going to loop it through. I'm going to take that other yarn tail, I'm going to tie a knot. And 2. I'll hide that once I take off my waste yarn. So this waste yarn that was at the end of our work, I think that was this side, just literally pulls off. Just find the end and pull it off. And I'll wind it up because I'll use it again. And then the other one, we have to take out the first row. So find that tail. It's coming from this direction, so I'm going to roll it up till I get to the very top. When I get to the very top, I'm going to pinch the stitch and pull it out. Go down 5 or 6 or 7 stitches, find the very top, pinch the stitch, pull out the line. Only have to do this for the first row. And pull. and then you can unravel it. Just like so. If you have a long enough one to sew it onto your body, then leave one of them long. I'm gonna have to attach because it's too short. And I'm gonna just take, I'll attach with you once we get to that point, but I'll take this and I'm going to hide it in my work and cut it off. Do it to my second leg. And you've got like a wrist warmer there, really, but nice braided join at the top there. And this is going to be what we put underneath the body, and then we're gonna put the little ball in here, okay? So let's put this aside. I'm gonna finish this one. I already closed it, I just have to take the waste yarn off. And once I have those two done, grab your 22 needle machine again, and we're going to make the little balls that go inside. Now that we have that part done, we're going to make our little balls that go at the end of each the arms and the legs, okay? I've made 3 already. I'm gonna make the last one with you. We're gonna take our white yarn, or your color of choice, for the little balls that are at the end of the legs, okay? We're going to cast on, same way we've been doing, behind and in front, behind and in front, behind and in front. Just like this, setting your row counter to 0 before you get to the end. And I'm gonna not do this whole thing with you. I'm just going to start it with you. Behind that last white, into the yarn feeder. Slowly on the first round. See this one split. I don't know, you guys. I don't know why it does that, but it does. Not all the time, like I already said, but sometimes. But I'm so glad it's an easy fix. Oops, this one here. And if it's tight, back it up just like ever so slightly. And then you can lift it up, no problem. Here's again. And you know, this yarn is very splittable, so it doesn't help with the process. Some yarns won't do this, but other yarns will. And I don't mind it. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna knit 18 rows, and then I'm gonna cast off with a drawstring cast off, just like what we've done already in our project. So you're gonna just cut off a long tail, 1.5 times the width of your circumference here, and you're going to take off all of your stitches with a drawstring cast off. So we did a drawstring cast on. We're going to knit 18 rows. We're going to do a drawstring cast off, and we're going to make 4. Alrighty, we are moving along at a good clip here. Maybe you're saying, no, we're not, but maybe this is taking you a long time to do it. I'm pulling this off pretty quickly. And here we go. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull this tight. We're gonna pop it onto our needle. Oops, get you out of the way there. We're going to reinforce around the top. This is not new. You're becoming a pro. Through the top, a little tiny bit further. There we go. I'm going to make a knot. Pull that down with my thumb. I'm going to pop this into the center. We're going to put this in half. This tiny little piece is going to go in half. Yes, it is. Pull to get that knot out. Tighten this side. Make sure you smooth it out before you pull it tight. We're going to do the same thing we've done already. I'm going to reinforce it around once. I'm going to pull the inside right up to the top here. I'm going to tie those two off in a firm knot. When I get there on all 4 of these, I'll be back. A simple way to hide your ends on these. Let me just show you. I'm going to tie these 2 off. Is to just cut them off short and turn it the other way. Turn them so they're on the inside. You can do that for any of the pieces that we've done this way, actually. I generally, by habit, hide them on the inside in between the 2 layers, but now you're going to stick your fingers in there and you're going to pull up. give this a good stretch, but at the same time you're lining up your rows because you need the very top edge here. We're going to take some white yarn, pop this on our needle, and we need to make a cinch cord here. So again, pick up 2, over 2, pick up 2 bars, over 2, pick up 2, all the way around. There we go. And we're almost there. Oops, let's take this one here. And here's where I came out, so I'm going to just pick up this last one right there. We're going to grab some fiber fill. Of course, it's not going to use very much. I'm going to roll it into a little ball. After I pull it apart, roll it into a ball, stuff it in there. It takes more than what you would think. It looked like that wasn't going to fit, didn't it? It's perfect, actually. I don't even need to add more. I don't need to take away more. Look at that. If I can only get the other ones, it's perfect that easily. Then we're going to take these two, and we're going to tie them. Can somebody please come over here and help me? Lend your hands. Let's do this together. Let's tie another knot. Just like that. And that is tight enough because we can put that on the inside. So all you got to do, cut that off. You don't want it so open that your fiber fill is going to start coming out, but it's not going to like that. And just take this through, cut it off. And there we go. Do that to the other 3. Try to get them the same size, and I'll see you when you're done. Magic of camera. I got all 4 done. 3 I've already assembled with their matching part, and we're going to now do the 4th one. Matching part with 3 of the limbs, 3 of the legs, 2 arms, 2 legs. I don't know what you want to call them. Okay, and we're going to take this one that looks like a tiny wee beanie. I'll explain the other ones later. And we're going to make sure that it's absolutely perfectly in half. Then we're going to take our little ball. If you have one end that's not as nice as the other, like that one isn't completely closed, that's going to go to the inside. But before you do that, I almost forgot, take a little bit of stuffing. Now, here's the thing. I don't want these to be stuffed much. This is a very light stuffing. So I'm going to just take a little piece in there. I'm going to stick it in there. I'm going to take some out. This is, yeah. I want it to be soft, but I don't want it full. Maybe a little fuller than that, but not much. So you're not going to just be aware, you're not going to stuff it as much as you normally think you would, but don't have it like flimsy either. I got just a nice stuffing in there, but it's not rounded. It's just like a flat kind of stuffing. I'm going to pop that one that's got a wider opening into the center here. I'm going to slide this up. I'm going to just make sure that this is in the center, that you don't want it like that and then sew it on. You want it in the center. Push it down a little bit, smooth out your edges. And we're going to sew it on. Now, some of you are saying, Shelley, why didn't you just do a color change? Have it white, do a section of white and then have a color change. Well, you could have done that if you wanted to, but there's a method in my madness, and that is I like texture. I like to see the difference. You can see that there is something in there and that it's separate. It looks almost like a paw or, you know, a hand or whatever you want to call it. And when you do a color change, then you'd have to put a line through and cinch it to make it a little bit tighter. It looks different. It does, and it serves its purpose. I've done that on projects. But for this one, and just like I did on my unicorn, I want to do it this way. I think it just gives it a nice texture, a different look, and that's why. So I'm going to pick up 1 stitch from the very top edge here. And 1 stitch about 5 rows down or so, I think is what I did. Oops, and it wants to pop out. So it's very, you know, you want to just take your time, make sure that it's nice and even. hold that then. I've left a bit of a tail on the end there because I'm going to pull it in a second and you'll see. But you don't want to leave any bar out. You want to make sure you get the whole stitch. And then go down, you see it's coming out there, so I'm going to grab that next stitch right there. And the reason why I did the other 3 is because you do all of them the exact same way. Except for when you're doing the lower legs, you want your braid to be at the other end, okay? So you're doing it on the nice smooth end there. And we're going to just pick up a stitch, hold it up and make sure it's all tucked in the right way, the way it should be. Just like that. And then pick up. It's fun to do. I like this part actually. And pick up here, and then I'm going to pull on this just a little bit. See how you can see those stitches and stuff that are loose? I'm just going to pull this until it tightens in there. It'll pull that through. See? And now I've got it nice and snug. And I can pull this back the other way if I want to, just so that I can have more room to do that again when I get around. It just puts it right close to one side, right close to the other side. The pink right close to the white. I'm going to continue that around. Picking up 1 stitch, and 1 stitch, and 1 stitch, and 1 stitch. And then give it a little pull, and it makes it nice. And just snug that up to where you want it to be. And continue. Don't forget to add the stuffing. A very easy thing to forget. You add it later on the bottom legs, but on the top ones, you have to add it before you put your ball in. And we're almost all the way around. We're going to tuck that. And you try to get them all the same. Of course, they're all going to be unique. And one might look a little bit more protruding than the other, but it's fine. It'll be perfect. It's about 5 rows down on the white, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. And I'm almost around. After I finish this one, I'm going up to make myself a cup of coffee. Take a bit of a break. And if you've been following along right till this point, you should do the same. I'm going to pull on this. See how it looks now? See how it looks then? Now and then looks much better after you do it. Stitch, 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 oops. And one more on the pink. One more on the white. There we go. I'm going to give that a pull to snug it up, not to gather it, just to snug it up. Then I'm going to go down back into the white and pick up a strand. And tie this off. Take that in, under some stuffing, out the side, give it a little tug, cut it off. There you go. We've got these two done. They look brilliant. They look wonderful. You're going to do the same thing for your bottom legs, leaving the braided join open. And we're going to stuff that a little bit afterwards before we add it to our body. Go ahead, get all 4 pieces done. And when they are done, come back and see me. Alrighty, I'm back. We're going to, I already put some stuffing in here and attached the yarn tail to this one, but let's take the legs first, okay? Grab a piece of yarn, long enough for sewing it onto your body that goes across here, but we're gonna actually sew up the back end of this first. We're gonna attach this to our needle. I'm going to take a little piece of stuffing. I don't want to stuff the legs too much either. If I was to roll that up, that's about how much I think. I measured it for the other one. And we're going to pop that in there. Maybe that's, no, I can feel it's a little too much. I'm going to take some out. Make sure they're even. Then you're going to take your yarn and you're going to pop it onto your needle. You're going to fold this in half. I'm going to take, see, I added that last little piece. It's too much. You're going to pick up the side here, tie a knot to join, and another one. You can take this yarn tail here and just shove it into the inside there. Sew it right in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put this up at the top half. I'm going to fold that in half just like that. So it's the top half. These are now my sides, but I'm going to go right across, pick up the braid on the other side, and pull through. Then I'm going to just do that again. That yarn tail's getting in my way now. Just like that. Then you're going to take one of these sides. Actually, let's tie off a little knot here, and then it's going to secure it and you don't have to worry about it opening up and fighting with you. There we go. Got a knot. That's not going nowhere. Now you're going to go over to, just give it a turn so that the side here is now up there. Or you can do it from the side too, but it's just easier visual here. Then you're going to go in through there and you're going to bring it down into the center here. Just pick it up. And bring it in. See, just like that. Go over to this side. Pick it up and bring that into the center this way. Now I have what looks like a 4-point closure. You see you have 4 different, it looks like an X. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put those 2 sides together and I'm going to go across and just sew them together. Don't put too many stitches in there because you don't want a big bulky thing because you still have to sew it onto your piece. I just want to secure it a little bit, get it across. I only did 3 stitches there. I'll tie a knot. Do the same on this side. I can carry this through. Oops, I got a piece of my waist yarn hanging in there. How'd that get in there? You sneaky little thing. And we're going to just trail it under, up to the center. Don't pull on this though, because you don't want to gather it. You just want it loose in there. Then we're gonna go across to this side. Tie a knot. Now this one is ready to sew on. Give it a little bit of a stretch. Not too much, just a little bit of a stretch. And then go ahead and do it to the second lower leg. We've got both legs done. Now we're going to attach them. We're going to put this one strand back onto my needle. I don't know why I took it off, but I did. And we're going to hold this up and place this on where you want it to be. It's going to slip off, especially because this yarn is so slippery, but I want it at an angle about like that. So then if I tip it over, you can see here is where the center is, right there. I am just like 2 stitches down, but in the center. Like I'm going to have the corner of this leg and the corner of that other leg touching. And then this is just at a slight angle to the back. So while I have that in place, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up some of the body and then go back into my piece all the way down, pick up some of the body, just like that. Then I'm going to go over, back into the seam here, pick up the body. There's really no special technique to this. And I'm going to do that till I get it attached. Going through both, like this whole thickness of the seam that you made earlier. Getting down in there, picking up some stuffing if you can, bringing it through. See, just like that. And we're going to go right to the end here. I'm squishing the head into the table, but we will fix that later so I can make sure you're in the camera here. And then I'm going to make sure I'm in the very corner there. Go down into the stuffing underneath and come out. Do not tie this one off until your second leg is on. Hold that up. That's going to be perfect. I'm going to take this one. And that's going to go like that. I'm going to sew it on the same way. So if I hold this, all these crazy yarn tails, let me just cut that a little shorter, just so that it's not in my way. Take this other one actually, and all you have to do is center it like that. So you're going to put corner to corner here, right here, and then you're going to start sewing. You can see where here's the center. That one's about there. That one's about there. And when you sew it on and you sit them up, it should be perfect. So that's how you're going to sew them on. Go ahead and put them both on and I'll meet you back. I can't do it with this slippery table under the camera because it just keeps moving. Okay, so I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is how they're going to sit. And if I turn it around, you can see that there is like a mirror image of each other. It's like a little V. We want this leg is flopping like that. This one's not, because I already fixed this one so I could show you. We want to attach this to the front of the body. So I'm going to take a piece of yarn, pink yarn. I hid the ends of my other yarn strands that were in the back. We're going to get that on this needle. And what we're going to do is we're going to just place them where we know they need to be. It doesn't look like a bear yet, but trust me, it will. So let your middle of your eyes be your focus, and then have your legs centered on both sides in the same kind of place, okay? Same distance away from the center. And now I'm going to hold that up. I'm going to take my yarn. I'm going to come in on the leg underneath the stuffing and come up, leaving a bit of a tail. And then I'm going to go up into my work, and I'm going to go under the stuffing, pick up about a row. I'm going to go in, see where I went in here. I'm going to go into there. I'm going to come over about a stitch or so, row length. Then go back in where I came out before and go over, pick up. I'm going to leave this loose just so that you can see. Otherwise, I would be tightening it as I go. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit more. Go back up here. Pick up a little bit more. And then you can take both ends and just pull them just like that. See how that is? It's beautiful. Then you're going to take this into the leg just to finish this corner off. I don't want a little gap there. There we go. Then back into my work. And I'm going to come back out the leg where I went in. Just weave it through. Pull on this one. Tie a knot. Very, very easily done, but it just makes the legs look so much nicer. Tie a knot. Cut it off. Hide your ends. Do that to both legs. Once you have that done, grab your arms. All right, friends, here's where recording can become difficult at times. I pressed start, but it was on photo, not on video. And I was talking away to you and showing you how to add these arms, and lo and behold, it was not recording. So I'm going to explain to you how I did it, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. What I did is I attached a piece of yarn to the center of my arm at the top here. And then from the center, I went into I followed the head down to the middle here. I followed that center piece down to the side of the head here. And then being that my yarn was attached to the very center of this arm here, then I went right into the to the neck at this part and pulled it tight. Then I just kept going along 3 stitches on either side of this center. I picked up a little bit, went into the neck, tightened it. Picked up a little bit, went into the neck, tightened it. I did it 3 times, and then I went down 2 rows on the side of the arm here, picked up a stitch, and then trailed it up into this, then took my needle. So I went down to the side here. I always go about 2 stitches down. And when you pull it through, then I went into the very edge of the last stitch that was up here, into my piece, and I'll lift this up now, and into the middle, and pulled it. And what that does is it just takes this in nicely. Okay. Then from that center, I did the very same thing here. I did 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. Then I picked up about 2 rows down, and then put my needle into the edge here, and took it out at the middle, but underneath, and pulled it through. So I hope you can understand that. Just that's how you sew on how I sewed on these arms on both sides. I did not tie off and hide my end on this one until I had this one on and I could see how I liked it. Okay. And then when I had them in the place that I wanted them both to be, then I knotted it off and I hid my end. Then I put a piece of yarn on my needle. I put this where I wanted it to be. And then I just took 1 strand, went through a piece like that, about 2 rows, pulled it through, then went into the body like that, pulled it through, went back up into that same space in the arm, pulled it through, went back into the same space down here, pulled it through, and now my 2 ends are here. I pulled it tight, tied off my ends, and hid them, and that just holds my arms in place a little bit better. So my sincere apologies to you for that. I don't want to find the ends and have to take that apart to show you, but I think you'll get it. And if you don't get it, go to my unicorn video, because this is like in the unicorn series kind of, because it's the same row counts, the same patterning as what my unicorn was. Except for we're making it into a bear. So you can go in and see that, and I'll show you how to make the arms, attach the arms for that. I might have used waste yarn on the arms for the unicorn. I can't remember actually. And so it may or may not help you. I should have checked that before I wrote this. So anyways, sometimes I use waste yarn on my arms and that gives us a flat edge. I just didn't feel I needed to. This is a smaller project, and to do it the way I did it works beautifully, and it gives it a nice and narrow curve at the top here too, and I like that better. So there we go. We've got our bear coming along. Doesn't look like a bear yet, but once we get the nose on and the ears, he's going to be beautiful. All right, so sorry about that. I hope that you're able to figure that out. If you're not, put it in the comments below and I'll try to help you out personally, okay? We have that part done. Let's move on to the ears. So grab your 22 needle machine and your pink and your white yarn, and let's make the ears. All right, so for the ears, I'm going to just tell you how to do it, and as well for the nose and even for the heart that we're gonna do, because it's just repetition of what we've done. So for the ears, I want you to take your pink. I want you to do a drawstring cast on going in front and behind all the way around. Then set your row counter to 0. You're going to knit 16 rows. Then you're going to do the drawstring cast off, picking up every stitch. You're going to make 2. So drawstring cast on, 16 rows, drawstring cast off, make 2. Let's assemble the ears. Then I will explain to you the rest as we go. I hope that my heater in the background isn't too loud for you. I'm downstairs and it's pretty cold today, so I've got the heater going. But anyways, I'm going to take this piece. I've assembled one already and put it on our bear. And we're going to take this piece, we're going to pull one end closed. Again, same thing. And we're going to, I kept a long end, which I put on the screen for you to remember to do at the end, because I didn't say it. But we're going to just reinforce this around just once. Gonna pull tight, then I'm gonna pop that through the center, out the other end, and I'm going to pull this closed. Now, when we make our nose, we're doing the same exact thing as what I'm doing right now. So just to keep that in your mind. And we're gonna pull this one tight. Then we're going to pull the inside one up to the outside one, or to the second one that we did. I'm gonna just leave that needle on there. I'm gonna take another needle. And we're going to, you know, for these ears, it's really not necessary to have to reinforce them. It's just a force of habit for me, actually. It doesn't hurt. It gives them a little bit of extra strength, but these ones are going to be hidden anyway, so you can skip this part and you're not doing any harm. I'm going to just go around. It just makes me feel good to do it. And I'm going to pull that tight. Then I'm going to take the inside, this longer one here, pull it up so it's flat like a pancake. No need to keep this one long. I'm going to just cut it off a little bit here. I'm going to tie this tight. So now I have a flat pancake. I'm going to cut this one off just like that. Now, friends, this is exactly what we're going to do with our nose, and we're going to get it to this point, just so you know. And once we get it to this point, then I'll show you what we do from there, and I'll give you the row counts after we get the ears on and stuff. But we're going to now take this one. We're going to take this long tail, and we're going to thread it up to the top, to the side here. Should really put my straight needle on there. Pull it through, and then I want to just put a little knot on here to secure it so that I'm not gathering in here when I'm working. Now that we have it up at the edge, we're going to put it on the side there, then we're going to fold this in half. See how it's a nice ear coming along? From there, I'm just going to sew up the side, pull through, pull through. Now I'm going to tell you, if you are using worsted weight yarn, like this is a 4-weight yarn, but it's seems a lot thinner to me than regular worsted weight yarn, say in Bernat Premium. If you're sewing this up and it looks too big, then just decrease your row counts if you're using a different yarn. Go maybe to 14 rows or maybe even 12. I would say 14. It seems that I have to do a little bit more with this particular yarn. But even if you did the same row counts and it's a bit bigger, it'll be adorable. So no worries. So I'm sewing this all the way down. And I'll get to the corner. And when I get to the corner, I'm just going to knot it off, just to secure it, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trail this down just to the edge there. Here's where my center is, just to the bottom of that straight row, and pull through. It just closes up that little edge there. I'm just going to go back across. And one more time, just to give it a knot. Oops. So now you have a bit of a flat edge there. You're going to grab your bear, which mine fell off the table and went across the room. Let me just grab it here, not quite across the room. But we're going to take that little ear and we're going to pop it onto our head. This one looks a little bit wider than that. No, maybe not. And I'm just going to go down a ways from the center here. Don't go all the way up here. You don't want your ears up there. You want them down a little bit lower. I could have actually made this one a little bit lower. I'm going to actually take the edge here and I'm going to sew it down like that. But I'm going to put this one on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trail this back out to the edge. And then make a knot to secure it. And then we're going to take it and we're going to pop it on the top of our head, starting at the top and sewing down this way. We're going to center it where our top hole is there and straight down the side here. But we're going to go down about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to pick up a section, try to get under the fiber fill if you can, and attach the ear. Then we're going to pick up underneath the ear. I'm going to change my needle to a straight one instead of this pointed one for this work. And we're going to pull. Then we're going to line it up just to make sure that we're still in the same direction as the other one, same area. Then from there, I'm going to pick up more of the head. Maybe this needle is good because I can get under the stuffing. And I'm going to pull through. Then I'm going to pick up the base of the ear and pull through, and we're going to attach it all the way down, just like that. Making sure that we're looking, checking with the other side every once in a while. We want this part here to end in the same place that that other one is ending. Don't put them too far back. Sometimes I see that on projects that people put their ears way back here. Don't do that, and don't put them way forward. You want to center them in the middle, down even with the center of the arms. And we're going to just continue sewing it on until we have it nice and tight and secure. And when they're both lined up exactly how you want them, I'm going to bring this end in just a little bit like that when I sew the tip on. And when we have our ears placed exactly where we want them, then we can knot the ends off and hide them into our work. Then we will move on to the nose. When I get to the corner here, I'm just going to pick up the tip, even just a little above the tip. And then I'm going to go into my work and bring it up to the middle here. And then when I pull it, see how it just rounded that end off a little bit. I can even do it a little bit higher on here too if I want to do it again. But I think that actually works. Okay, and then I'm going to knot it off. I'm going to hide my ends and I'll be right back. All right, we have both ears on and I like them. I think they look great. We're going to take our 22 needle machine. We're going to cast on, same way we've been doing. We're going to knit 10 rows. Then we're going to do the drawstring cast off the same way we've been doing. We're going to make it into a flat donut, just like what I did with the ears before I put them in half. And we're going to take that and we're going to pop it on. What I need to do is I need to trail this. Once I've knotted it off, I cut off the shorter end. I'm going to trail this up to the edge. I'm beginning to talk a little fast because this video is long and because there's many parts to it, and I'm feeling bad about that, so I need to get this done. Okay, we're going to pop this onto the face in the center there between the eyes, and I'm just going to pick up. You can crochet this too if you want to go to my Cuddle Bear Lovey on my channel, my animal playlist. You will find that one, and it can be crocheted as well. And we're going to pull that, get as close to the piece as you can, then pick up the edge here, pick up 2 bars, 1 whole row. And we're going to work our way around. Again, getting as close as you can to that ridge because you don't want to see your sewing lines here. You want to be very careful. I'm going to sew this all the way around, and when I get to about here, I'll see you back because I'm going to put a little tiny bit of stuffing in here. Just a little tip as you're sewing it around. Don't put it completely flat against the face. You can use your hands to manipulate it and make it into a little bit of a, so that there's a little bit of it's being raised there, and that's going to give us a little bit of a cavity for some stuffing. So I'm just pushing it in just a little bit as I do it, and we're going to have this looking like such a cute little nose. It's not even funny. Okay, so I'm going to continue around. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, we can see he's coming together, looking more like a little bear. I'm going to take a little bit of stuffing, and I'm going to pop it into that nose, just like that. Just a little bit, you don't need a lot. I'm going to finish sewing it around. I'm going to knot it off, hide my ends, grab some black yarn, and I'll see you back. All right, so taking our black yarn, we're going to come up from the side of the head all the way up, and we're going to come just above the center of this nose. So up into the nose, here's the center right there. So I'm coming just above it because you always work your way down a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to go straight across, maybe halfway in line with the eye there. Don't make this section too big. You want it to be nice, but you don't want it to be the focal point of the face where it's just, you don't want to cover this whole thing. I see that a lot too, and so we want to make sure that we make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to go back into here, and I can already tell that I need to go over a little bit farther on this side to make it even. So I'm going to go up, and I'm going to come back down, and we can go a little bit wider later to fill it in if we need to. Go back into that point, come up right at the edge of the white, and pull through. Use your thumbnail to guide this, or your fingernail to guide that so it's straight. Then you're going to come down, go back up, and guide that, come back down, and go back up. Come right up at the edge there. Use your finger to guide it. You want them nice and straight. And we're going to go back and forth, and fill in this section. And then when we're done filling it in, we want to then assess it and make sure that it's even. Okay, on both sides, same distance. This one I can see has to go a little bit farther. I'm going to keep going, filling this in back and forth, and I'll see you back when I'm finished that part. All right, friends, how did that go? Good, I hope. All right, so once I have that filled in, you'll notice I'm down at my point here, because as it starts to get squared off here, you go down into your point, and you make it more pointy here instead of square. So I am going to finish off this one here, but what I do in the end, before I complete this, is I always go and I outline the edge here again. See how a little wonky that is? So I'm going to go into my point, and if you haven't gone into your point yet, this is a good time to do it. You go into the point. Once you assess it, it's all the same width on both sides, like it's even. Then I'm going to go into my point. I'm going to come up, go back down. You see how that just straightened out that line there? I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Go in, come up at the edge there, pull through, and then I'm going to straighten this one. Look at that. Makes such a difference. So when we straighten this one, we're going to go back into the center. We're going to come down. I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm going to go about a stitch up, but straight down. If your yarn was too short, oopsie. Let me just finish this one first. I'm going to straighten that one there. If your yarn was too short, at any point you can just trail it out to the head here, tie a knot, hide your ends, then start another one and continue where you were. That's actually what I had to do. And I'm going to go back into the point, go back down into the same space. So that's one time here. And when I go up, that'll be the second time. And that's all I want to do. Go back into the point, under the stuffing, come out where I went in, pull that through. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to tie this off. Don't tie this first one too tight or you'll gather it in there. You're going to tie the second one tight. Cut these off so I can work better with them. I'm going to hide them into my work. I'm going to grab a bigger needle. I don't need to stay with you for that. Hide it into your work. Cut it off. Our Valentine teddy is looking so cute. Now we've got to work on the heart. Okay, so you're going to take your 22 needle machine. You're going to grab some red yarn. You're going to do the drawstring cast on. You're going to knit 12 rows. Then you're going to do the drawstring cast off. You're going to make 2. Once you make 2, you are going to then cinch the ends and bring it together into a flat pancake like we've done a couple of times already, okay? So drawstring cast on, 12 rows, drawstring cast on, get them to this point. Once they're at this point, you're going to hide your tails on one of them. You don't only need to keep the longest tail of one of them. And you're going to trail that tail up to the top here. And you're going to tie it with a knot so that it's secure. You're going to pop that onto your needle. So I put a knot here because when I pull this, I don't want it to gather in there. I'm going to put these two together. And then I'm not going to stitch all the way around, but almost all the way around. I'm going to just pick up the edge there, come over, pick up, go into between the next row and the next row. I'm going to go 3/4 of the way around, and then I'll meet you back. It's quick. I am most of the way around. I just have a little opening there. I'm going to take some fiber fill. We're going to put it in there. And again, you guys, my apologies for a long video, but there are a lot of techniques, a lot of tips I've given you in this video, and there's a lot of different pieces to do, believe it or not. So that's why. And I have it nice and stuffed just like that. I'm going to put a little bit more stuffing at the top. So once you have it, what you think is stuffed, stuff it a little bit more at the top. Not a lot, just a little bit. You want it to be coming out because I want my bottom to be narrower. See, and if I have a little bit less stuffing in there, that's going to give me that effect. And so I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to finish sewing this closed. Holding that very stuffed top tightly as I complete the circle. All right, the circle is complete, and we went like this so we know that that's where our bottom is going to be. I have to trail this back up to the middle because this is where our widest part is. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to just pop it under there. I'm just going to move it up to here, about there. Then, as always, we have to make a knot so that it secures it. Just like that. What we're going to do is we're going to go into our piece. I'm going to change my needle into a straight needle. We're going to gather this a little bit. We're going to go down, through, and then back, through, up to this side, and then through the center there, and the center at the back. And you're going to pull. And you're going to pull, just like that. Then you're going to take this and you're going to come around. And you're going to go into the center and out the center. It's a little tight because I grabbed too big of a needle now. And you're going to pull. And then you're going to come around again. And you're going to go a little bit below center. So here's my center. You could probably just wrap and not gather, but I like the effect, so I'm going to gather. Now I went a little bit lower, just like that. And I'm going to go around again. And a little bit lower. It hides that circle. Just like that. And pull. There we go. We're getting a beautiful heart. And now I'm going to just knot this off. Just pick up a stitch, give it a knot, one more time, give it a knot. Now you're going to take this and you're going to put it into that same spot, bring it out aside, and if you give it a tug, that knot will go into the inside, and then I'm going to cut this off. And there you go. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to take a longer piece of yarn. We're going to go at the bottom part here. We're going to pick up a seam. I'm just going to tie this on. We'll hide that one end, but tie this on to secure it. We'll hide that end first. Let me just hide it first. Get it out of the way. Into my work, cut it off. Now I'll put this one back on and it's nicely attached. And I'm going to go straight I'm gonna put a little bit of a seam here, so like a 1/4 of an inch. Then I'm gonna go straight across into the seam on this side, and then go up like 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. What? Just so you need to go up just a little bit, just so you have a little seam in there, a little bar. Then you're gonna come back out, and you're gonna pull. From there, we're going to go down, take a big section, take a 1/2 an inch, and go right across into that space where you came out before, and pull. And then now you're going to go down a 1/2 an inch, 1/4 of an inch on this side. I'm a bad judge without a ruler. And go across and pull, and then up to where you ended here and across. And we're just going to keep doing that until we can get it pointed there. I'm going to go back down just a little bit here. And then here's where my stitch ended before. I'm going to go into there. And look at that. We've pointed our heart. Looks so great. Oh, there's a little knot there. I got to get that hidden. Looks good. So then all you're going to do now is you're going to just tie this off. 1 and 2. And you're going to hide your knot by popping it into that stitch and giving it a tug, pulling it through, cut it off. I'm going to leave this yarn on my needle. I've got a little yarn tail there. I'll take a crochet hook and I'll pull that in. I'll do that off camera, save some time. But there we go. We've got a beautiful little heart. We're going to grab our bear. Here he is. And I've already put a ribbon on him. I got this ribbon from Michael's. I love it. It's got "You're cute, sweetheart," XOXO, love you, just different things on there. If you don't have a ribbon, don't stress it. You don't have to put a ribbon on there. You can make a little scarf if you want on your machine, add that, or just leave it. And then I'm going to take my heart and I'm going to just sew it from this corner here onto the arm there. I'm just going to take a stitch, tie it on, knot it off. And when that one's done, I'm going to do the same to this corner. And this little bear will be holding a heart. And that's how I'm going to do it. I don't think I need to be on camera for you with that. It's just needle and yarn. I'm just going to sew it from here to here and from here to there. And he'll be holding his beautiful little heart. I think our Valentine teddy bear turned out so cute. Now, friends, you can make this teddy bear at any time of the year. It doesn't have to be a Valentine's teddy bear, of course. You can leave off the heart, or you can put any color heart that you like. You can make it however you want. Make a little flower and let him hold a flower. Just a different idea. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Please don't forget to show me your bears in my Facebook group. I'd love to see. All right, friends, take care. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Have a blessed day.